Yo, what's up, guys? This is the second episode of the Standout Podcast where anyone and everyone could be a standout. And today, man, listen, I've watched this guy work for a little bit through my mans who's in the building today. I got Fahz from Domiair. This brand is going crazy right now. It's everywhere. We got celebrities wearing it, athletes wearing it, athletes in the post-game interview wearing it. What's up, Fahz? How we doing?
Yes, sir. What's going on, man? Like you said, man, I'm Fahz Allen, man. Pleasure to be in the building. Thank you for having me, brother.
No problem, man. Listen, when I think of clothing, you know what I'm saying? Back in the day when I was growing up, for me, it was like Starter, Coogee. Now when I think of it, we've gotten to the designer era of fashion. And you guys are settling in quite well.
Thank you, brother.
With this fashion. So tell me, was that a conscious effort coming up, like trying to make this more luxury rather than, you know, the regular streetwear? Because it's standing apart from everybody else right now.
Yeah, I think definitely, honestly, it stems from just like really just growing up in New York.
Okay.
Just seeing a lot of things like in New York, it's a whole different world out there. Like, right. You know, whether it's different blocks or different boroughs. You know, the influence is everywhere. There's so many different cultures, backgrounds, families. Yeah. So seeing a lot of different stuff kind of made me immersed to a lot of different things at a young age, just seeing what was going on. And I felt like just, you know, being on social media a lot recently too. Like I seen a lot of people like kind of clowning high fashion and stuff like that. Like,
they do that.
It was getting to a point where a lot of people I feel like was seeing it as like, it was getting corny, the term like high fashion. So you know, really for us, it was just bringing the taste of, you know, like trying to bring high fashion, but make it cool again. Like, you know, what we really consider high fashion. So redefining that in a way.
Because I mean, when I think of New York, bro, I remember going there at 3.
Yeah.
And I remember going to Jamaica Ave, Queens with my pops. And at the time, it was like Rockaware and all this different type of stuff. And I remember copping a hoodie for the first time from Jamaica Ave, Queens. And just the thrill of even being in New York shopping. So being from this brand is based in Brooklyn. Like, can you just tell me on a regular day what it was like getting dressed and just looking outside and looking at, like, who are some of your influences fashion-wise growing up? Because music, all that stuff cultivates, but like when you had the posters in your room and shit, who was it like, yo, I gotta be like this guy. I gotta look like.
You know, it's weird. I grew up in like a kind of weird environment. Like I feel like a lot of kids, how they grow up a little bit with like their favorite rapper or athlete and stuff like that. Strangely though, my idol really was my dad though. You know, honestly though, that was who I really looked up to because my mom she was a little bit more like, you know, classy kind of look to it. But my dad, so my mom was real, nice pants, nice shirt, all that kind of stuff. But my dad was always into, he would mix a little bit of the streetwear with the high fashion. Like that's how my dad was. He mixed everything up and he would wear high end to random brands you never heard of. So I always seen my dad do his own style, whatever he liked. Right. So that really, I feel like, gave me the confidence and the boost to just really do whatever I wanted to do when it came to clothes. Like, you know, I found myself through clothes. Right. Some bad fits was definitely in the mix.
Yeah, of course, man. Because I remember growing up, you know, my dad has the same problem. Like, I remember my dad, he used to get a paycheck and we got to pay the mortgage, whatever.
Most definitely.
And you know, you looking for this dude and he's in New York.
Yeah.
And he's trying to get with it. And the sauce and the style is so crazy out there that when he used to come back, his brothers used to hate on him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So they'd be like, yo, where did you get this? Where did you get that? Yo, I got this in Harlem. I got this from Brooklyn. I got this piece from this place.
Put it together, man.
Yeah, so you put it together. So tell me about also that process of, you know, realizing yourself through your father and like realizing, okay, this piece goes with that piece. This piece goes with this piece. Like, when did you start really color coordinating, getting all that stuff together?
Man, it was just, I just realized so much like how clothes really could draw people together and it really sets the tone sometimes about like, you kind of realize that unfortunately before you open your mouth, sometimes just the way you present yourself, people could learn a lot about you. Yeah. And you know, some people might view it as a bad thing, but I view it as a good thing. You know, you can really tell a lot. So, you know, I just seen the way how he conducted himself and carried himself as a man. And I just saw how he had the courage to really just wear whatever he wanted to wear.
Stand out of there.
And I was like, wow, like, and it's one thing about it, like I feel like it's not just the clothes, sometimes it's how you wear the clothes with the confidence.
Right.
So sometimes just seeing how he would wear anything and he threw it on with such confidence and at a young age I'm seeing that, I'm like, man, like, oh wow, I really want to bring my own taste, you know, to the game.
Yeah, because I remember with my dad, I remember this one outfit, he came home from Harlem. and it was like a pink peacoat with like this rainbow like shawl shit under it.
Yeah.
And I was like, Dad, you should not ever get this off in your entire life. This got to go under the worst fits I've ever seen. And everybody at that party, bro, was like, yo, where you get that shit at? Da-da-da-da. And you're like, man, what the fuck? Like, how did he even get that fit off? How did he even do it? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it was different. But listen, so getting more into your clothing brand, you start this in later 2000s.
Yeah.
But this was, from what I heard, this was always in the making. This was something you always wanted to do.
Yeah. So actually, the name of the brand, Domiair, actually came on when I was 7 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, like a lot of people don't know. They think it's like some new thing. It's like, it really started out like as kind of like a family joke, but it really wasn't. Like when I was a kid, you know, when you see the commercials coming on the TV, like it'd be like the perfume and the car commercials. Yeah. So growing up, like, you know, I ain't really grow up in like, you know, the most fortunate situations and stuff at times. Right. So just seeing all the you know, the luxury car commercials and all stuff on TV. Okay. You know, I would always make a joke like, oh man, I'm gonna have my own clothing brand. It's gonna be called Domiair because I thought it sounded luxurious and expensive. And I realized as I got older, as you just start to study yourself as a man, I'm like, man, I'm not. It's not a joke. Like it's really what I want to do. But as a kid, you kind of downplay things. Yeah. You know, but you really do want to do it. So I kind of realized later on in life, I'm like, man, I actually really love this name. And that's what I want to do.
That is insane. Because I ain't gonna lie. When I thought of the brand back in 2015, A$AP Rocky got a song. Yeah. And he says in there, I got this Domiair Doma. And I said, oh, my boy was linked with him way back then. I'm trying to pop it. I was like, yo, my man been outside since 2015. Y'all ain't even know. You know what I'm saying?
Go crazy too.
Yeah, man. One of the fashion icons. But that's crazy. So at 7 years old, you just always wanted the luxury stuff. Like you just always knew this is where you wanted to go. Yeah. So you was like, no disrespect, but it was like, you know, Burlington, TJ Maxx, we cool with it, but we want to be in Saks Fifth too.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I'm saying? We want to be on the Avenue too. We want to be on them runways too. So tell me about that. Like, when was like your first piece of like designer clothes, like where you was like, yeah, this shit right here, this is different.
Man, I think for me, honestly, I kind of, you know what's crazy? I did have those kind of experience, but not really though, because like it was weird. Because when I went to, you know, when I was growing up, like, you know, when as a kid you save up to get certain pieces and stuff like that, and I would do that. I went through that whole era, but it was like I was so into what I thought was cool when I was younger that by the time I started getting like real money and I could get more things I wanted, I was on to like what I thought was fly. So you know, especially, and even my friends like that I was around, like we was into like a lot of different brands that, you know, other people probably wasn't into that much. You know what I mean? Like I was a big person. Like when I was young, I was really big on Vans. Like that was one of my things. Like, you know, so, and this was in the Jordan era. Like, you know, and no disrespect, but like all my friends, I never was a fan of Jordans. I never liked Jordans, honestly. Like
I never, you know, here's a good thing that I'll tell you. I never owned a pair of retros in my life.
I never owned a pair of Jordans in my life, period.
And your whole life?
My whole life. I never had a pair of Jordans.
Yo, every time I see somebody rocky and stuff, they always pair with some
Jordans. They pair with Jordans.
They pair with some Jordans.
I see that too.
It's the wildest thing. Every time I see Domiair, it's with a pair of 4s or a pair of 11s. I'm like, it looks so crispy, but I got to put it with these Reeboks.
And that's cool too, because I'd be like, you know what, however you want to rock it, however you adjust to it, that's cool. You know what I mean? Because my job, you know, is just to present it out to you. However you put it together, that's how you do it. But I'm like, man, I ain't really designed it in mine with Jordans. I never owned a pair. You know what I mean?
Me either. I never had that feeling of going to the store and dropping that $320 and being like, oh, these is mine.
Yeah, because like, for me, it just never really did a thing. And then like, you know, when he was a kid, you know, with the whole Jordan era, I did think they was cool at one point, but when I got old enough to really think for myself, I'm like, bro, I just think they fly because they telling me to think they fly.
That's the thing, and that's what I wanted to talk to you about too. Like now that you told me the Jordan story, like I think clothing is such a thing where it's like, you know, especially in our culture, like people be like, well, this is fly, and that's the read on it. Yeah. Like I always love people that are different. So like when you're telling me about the Van story, like what other brands were you into that where people are like, yo, I would never wear that shit. What is he got on? Like,
man, honestly, so even on my mother is a seamstress, so she was an artist growing up. So that's really something that stems into my background as well. Right. And like when I was younger, I would take like shorts, I would cut up shorts.
Oh, so you was always on this.
Yeah, I would cut up a lot of stuff. I would cut up stuff. I would vintage it, make it different. I would do a lot of things like, you know, that I was into. So whether for me, it was like even just making things too, like just changing that up a little bit, or, you know, I didn't like a logo on it. I do my own thing for it. So, You know, honestly, I was into like brands like that, Vans, a lot of vintage pieces. Vintage pieces for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, I would just mix it together. Whatever I was really feeling. Whatever I was really feeling.
Yeah, because that vintage stuff, like, I mean, when I think of the 90s, like, people say my closet look like a 90s lookbook. Yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, between the windbreakers and the
nylon you got on too. Yeah, that's 90s.
Like, listen, man, it's and it always comes back. So when you think of your brand, do you want it to be like that? Like, when you think of Domiair, like, do you want kids to be wearing it? Like, when they have that hoodie hanging, because this is how I know that the brand is good, right? Yeah. My dad has a starter jersey. Yeah. That Hornets jersey sits up in that closet. I've worn that jersey 30 times. I got 50 other clothes in the closet. So when you think of Domiair, do you want that, like, it generationally to keep being passed down so it's always out here? Yeah, like, that's definitely a big dream and goal of mine. For, like, one thing, like, even when, and I don't take no offense to it, but, like, I don't really, sometimes people call it, like, a clothing brand, which it is. Well, yeah. But I like to kind of call it, for me, a art exhibit. Like, that's what I really prefer. Okay. Because with art, it's appreciated when it comes to the time, but some people don't appreciate it. But over time, it cultivates a history of it. Right. And people might realize 10 years down the line, maybe when Mona Lisa might have came out, it might have not seen the value instantly. But down the line, people saw the value in it now that people really can't even touch it, but they can just look and admire it from afar. Right. So I don't really like to stand out too much in an era. That's my goal, because the era is an era and all eras must come to an end. Right. So I really want to, you know, create a art exhibit. It's all my art. So if you own a piece from this era, you can admire it and let it gain more value. And maybe you keep that piece in your family, like you just said, your father's jackets and things like that. Like, so that to me is the coolest thing, and it's exactly what you said, because these, like, I was a musician before I started doing this. Most definitely. So when you think of music, you think of wanting to make timeless music. So I don't want to make a song that isn't gonna have the father listening to it, to the son, to the grandson. Most definitely. You know what I'm saying? So that's definitely crazy. And I also want to talk to you about your logo. Yeah. Because your logo, to me, I'm not, it's no offense. No, but it's the plainest, it's plain. Yeah, yeah. But you have the most boss, like, every time I see a new celebrity in it, it's like they rock it, they wear it. Yeah. So tell me, was there a conscious effort going into making that logo? Like, you knew that logo just had to stand on its own, or was it just like, yo, like, we're gonna put this in the photo? Because I hear some crazy shit about logos where it's just like, yo, we typed some shit on Photoshop and it just went. Yo, so it was really, honestly, I'm really big on, like, first off, I started even before, like, you know, closing, I was really always into painting and drawing and that. So I've been messing with computers and all that. All right. But for me, when I came with the logos, I really wanted something to be simple, timeless, and simplistic. That's really my style. Like, even as you can see right now, I got on all black mostly. That's my favorite color. So I really just love simplicity and not too much going on. I just feel sometimes, like, when it comes to logos or anybody who's even want to start a clothing brand out, when you make it too, like, much going on and something wild, even if it does hit and it does stand out, which, you know, God willing, I hope it does, you know, I wish everybody success, but that's where it starts to kind of fall into the era thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you make your logo a mascot or whatever it is, neon green, like that color might be nice right now, but down the line, you know what I mean? Like, it's, so for me, it's just, I like to keep things very simplistic. Everybody can relate to it. You know, you understand, and honestly, you know, it really not, for me, not about the logo, it's more about the meaning of it. So it's so simple that for it to draw you to, you probably want to know the meaning behind it, because there's not that much going on to it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, and that's to me what drove me, because I remember the first time Chris came to the house and he was wearing it. And I was like, what is that? And I thought, I personally thought he went to like a designer store and bought that shit. Yeah, yeah. Because we all know the way Chris dressed. He got the BB belt. He got on designer shit. I'm like, okay, yeah, he's a fly dude. So I'm like, damn, that motherfucker get money. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm thinking about it, and then he like, nah, this my boy clothing line. Come to Buckland and pick some stuff up. I'm like, yeah, who's clothing line? Like, you know what I'm saying? So definitely that. But on the terms of all that stuff, so starting your own business, let's try. I'm trying to backtrack into it, but there's so much stuff to talk about here. Yeah, we're gonna get into it all. Yeah, so starting on your own business, what was that like? Was that scary for you? Like, when you first started, you were like, oh man, I'm coming in on a wing and a prayer here. Yo, oh man, like, honestly, yeah, man, it was super scary, because like I didn't have nobody, like, you know, people like, you know, I didn't come from a family of background of business owners or anything like that. But honestly, what I kind of really was just telling myself was just,
I was kind of in a little funk because I really started when COVID started. That's when I started this whole thing. And I was in a little funk. I'm in the house all the time. Like I was really just, you know, locked into doing it. And man, I remember just sitting back, like, you know, thinking to myself, like, man, I'm not doing anything too much, you know? And like, and I feel like life is hard right now. And if I feel like life is hard right now and I'm not doing anything, like, man, that means, you know, when I do something, then man, like it can't be no harder than this right now. Cause you know what I'm saying? Like failing is hard. Like adjusting to failing and not achieving something is hard. So, you know what I mean? Like, and I feel like a lot of times when I talk to my peers and people around me and even myself, we all say we at the bottom. Like that's how everybody, if you talk to everybody in private, everyone says they at their lowest right now. So if you at your lowest, man, you can only go up then. That's how I look at it. So, you know, when I adopted that mentality, it was like, you know what, man, if I don't know how to learn it, it's a Google search away. You know what I'm saying? Like even the studio world, like, you know, man, just take a Googler, like Google's your friend, you know? So, and knowledge is in a book too. A lot of people, you know, don't realize like there's a lot of knowledge in the book. Pick up a book, read a book, go Google, go ask somebody. Don't be too big of a man or too prideful not to ask people for help. And I think I think there's always that pros and cons to this era. Because even though social media has turned us very introverted as a society, even COVID, you know, COVID, you're in the house all the time. You're not talking to anybody, nothing. But I always tell people, YouTube University is your friend. YouTube University.
You know what I'm saying? So tell me about that. Is that where you learn most of this stuff? Like going into it? Like, is that where you started like, you know, kind of experimenting? Like, yo, I'm gonna watch this video. I'm gonna open this book. I'm gonna look at this. I'm gonna see that and see how this goes. Or because I know with clothing lines, bro, especially like I remember my cousin used to run with between the blanks, between the shipping, if you got that, between making the sizes right, between picking the material, it becomes a headache. And people stop in the beginning. So tell me how you've gotten to this point from just opening that book and going on that YouTube.
Man, there was so many rough drafts. Like I tell you, I started over a plethora of times. Like a plethora of times. I'm talking over and over and over. And that's why I like urge people to tell them it's like when you got a dream, you gotta really love it. You gotta eat, breathe, and sleep it because there was times, man, the logo be the wrong size. I bought the wrong material. Everything was like, you know, trial and error. And a lot of things too was when I first started, I was like, I'm a real, like, I want to do it now kind of person. I don't like to wait. And, you know, I would do stuff where I'll spend a bunch of money on something and realize it was the wrong material and I just had to destroy it. And you know, a lot of times, like my friends seen it, like the quality now, like we're at a point where everything is A1. But, you know, shout out to the people who used to buy the stuff when it first came out and it ain't last too long. And, you know, he's seen it like my brother over there. He's seen a lot of rough drafts of things. And it's like, you know, I feel like that's what it is that people realize it's hard. Like it's hard, but you got to keep going. Like, and I'm at a point right now where like I get a lot of, man, it's going crazy. And it's like, thank you, brother. And I appreciate that. But you got to realize, man, you got to put that work in, bro. There's no one to put that work in for you.
I hate this era of shortcuts. So, you know, the thing is, you guys will be sitting there and they'll come up to you and be like, well, how did you get to this price point? Bro, if you've seen half the shit I done put on a t-shirt and tried to get to this point and tried to get to that point, you'd be like, you know, and tell me about that too, just watching it progressively grow. Like, did that help? Because I know sometimes if that one shirt doesn't sell, like you'll have 50 shirts in the trunk and they don't sell, you're like, oh shit, it's going down.
Oh man. Yeah, we going broke, baby.
It's going down. So tell me about that. Like when that shit started going, you're like,
I think we're really honestly, it's crazy because when I was doing t-shirts, I was doing t-shirts so long that it was going in waves a lot of times. So when we first put them out, they was going good. Like I tell people this, like, sometimes what you're doing sometimes is kind of like a drug a little bit. So you get that first hit of dopamine. Like there's what I call it is the first layer of support. Anytime you do something, you're gonna have friends, family. That's the first people who usually gonna support you, right? But the thing about it is friends and family, like they might be doing it because they like it, but it's also because they just love you. So after that, say if you put another shirt out, they not gonna buy it because family, they just did it to get you show you support the first time, which is nothing wrong with that. So then people started to be like, man, nothing's selling. But it's like, no, bro, your family was trying to give you the motivation. You got to now go out and find people you don't know. That's where the real customer is. You know what I'm saying? Because it's easy to make a sale to a person you know they love you and they want to support you, but a person you don't know, you got to really reach out and touch them. You got to really, feel what they're saying. I think we was after that, I was first selling to like, you know, people I knew in my neighborhood and all that kind of stuff. I started to see a demand for, you know, other people. Like I'm like, okay, other people were liking it. And then once we kind of did that, we kind of just locked in on, you know, first pushing that. Like I didn't put out another piece for a while. It really used to just be white and black t-shirts for like probably 6 months to almost a year. We just put the same thing out over and over and over until people remember the name, because a lot of times it's like if you're a music artist, you could have 20 songs, but if nobody knows at least one song, then you know what I mean? So that's how I looked at it. It was like, I need you guys to know this one t-shirt, the name. And once you know the name, I could give you more, but I don't want to rush you with too much. You know what I mean? Quality over quantity.
Yes. And I was just going to say that I feel like this era, that is a huge issue. Yeah. We are having because I remember, you know, going to Buckland to buy my first piece. And I remember going into that little shop. And all those brands that are there, you guys have the black and white tees and the black and white hoodies.
Yeah.
And there's traffic behind me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh shit. And I'm like, people are coming. There's all these other brands there. And they have 40 different fucking fleeces on the table. And you're like, yo, like, especially if this is your first bat, you gotta make sure this product is hitting first.
Exactly.
You gotta make sure this is doing what it's supposed to do, because if it's not, we're gonna have bigger issues at hand later.
Yeah.
So when you start selling the black and white tees, were you still going through the variations? Like, were you still like, okay, this is that? Like, did you go through mad distributors and different shit like that?
Yeah, 100%. We 100% did. And like what we did too was that I feel like it was such an entry level point for people who were coming for the t-shirt, was that people would get a t-shirt. Say if the first batch was trash, they knew that it might have been really trash because we just started. But these people, they realized like, yo, they met us a lot of times, or they knew us from people telling stuff, that when they came back, they might have got they got a black shirt the first time. Next time they got a white shirt. And we were there so much in people's face. They saw the dedication and you know, and what we were doing, and online, and posting, and constant promoting ourselves. So, you know, it came to a point was that once people see that, a lot of times people see like, yo, this young brother's working. He really is hungry for this. He put the time and effort, and it's not just a money grab or an idea. Yeah. Then they start to love and get their own identity for the brand they sell. And that's where you were saying like, how did the Piceberg get up so high? Is because when you develop the fan base and the culture for that, then people are like, okay, well, I want something more. I'm hungry for a little bit more. And that's when I could bring in the higher quality pieces and things like that, because they were tired of just one shirt. They want some more. I want something to go with these pants I got, these shoes I got, and you can build it up more and more and more. So that's how that happened.
And you know, I remember the first time going online, and I went on your website, and I looked at it, and I looked around, and I said, a lot of these clothing brands don't have websites.
No.
And I said, he's literally channeling the market by himself, because he's in the streets, and then he could literally be like, okay, you don't want to buy it here? Here's my website. Yeah. So talk to me about that. Is it a Shopify website? Like, how does it work? Because I think a lot of kids at home want to do it, but they don't realize that, yeah, you could do the e-commerce, you could do the things like that. Like, when were you able to start doing that, getting into tracking labels, all that different type of stuff? Like, was that hard to do?
Yeah, so honestly, this stuff, man, everything is hard. Because I don't want to sit up here, bro. Like, the thing is, I don't like to sit up here and be like, it's easy, because it is. But the thing about it is, like,
nothing in life is easy.
Nothing in life is easy, but it kind of is easy. Like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, it's not, but it is. But this is why I say this. It's like, if you ask the average person who's in college right now, man, they'll tell you it's hard. Right?
Yeah.
But the thing about it is, like, because you got to do it.
Right.
So when people say, like, if you want to own a business or you want to work or something, yeah, it's hard, but look at it like school or a job. You have to do it. If that's what you want to do, you have to do it.
Of course.
So as a man or even a woman, why are you sitting up here talking about it's hard? Like, yeah, but I got to get to work. I got to learn it. No one's going to learn it for me.
Right.
So that's how I looked at it, is just, you know, I try to learn how to ship it the fastest. I taught myself how to do that, the labels, to everything, all that.
Okay.
And then, like, I have like a lot of good people around me too that they hold me accountable. You know, you said you was going to do this. Let's make sure we get this done. My mother was a massive help to it. She would, you know, for helping me stitch stuff, the labels, the packaging. Wow. My mom is the best. She does a lot for me. So
even down to like, so that's why I was gonna ask you too, because people don't realize with clothing brands is that you don't have a screen press in the back of your house.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So you gotta go to places further. So you're telling me your mom was stitching brands and everything like that. So tell me how that helps with that type of support system behind you. Because I know people that have to go in the pocket thousands of dollars, even spend half the re-up they made off the last project to get another one out.
Right.
So tell me how that home base has been and how that supported.
Man, I started in my basement, man. So like, man, I remember there's times that we got orders in, like so many orders in. My mom was, you know, she's snitching them the day before. Like, we got to ship them out.
God.
My sister is doing that. So there was a lot of times that, you know, and I'm doing it. So, you know, a lot of the things that people was buying, we just cooked that up yesterday, you know? So, or he be like, one of my, you know, he over there, he hit me, he told me, you know, man, they loving them shirts. We need more of them by tomorrow. So we got to get them by next week or tomorrow or so. You know, it was a lot of that going on. So, you know, and it was just growing, you know, because sometimes we had to keep up with the pace of things growing. So now we got it like a lot more organized and everything.
You got a system now.
A system now. So, you know, nothing, you can't buy nothing and we don't have it, you know, because sometimes that would happen. We thought we had it, we didn't.
Right.
Now everything is really organized, you know, a little bit more veteranizing itself into the system. But man, just study the game. Just learn it.
Everybody that's out there is not going to be perfection at first. I just want to let the people I know
it's not.
Because you know, people want to walk up, even with this podcast. I started my first episode last week.
And you killing it.
Bruh, it looks so hard. Listen, bro, you gotta dive in at some point. You can't just sit back and be like,
Man, if you always wait for the perfect moment, that perfect moment never arrives.
It never
arrives.
It never arrives. But listen, man, so, okay, now we're getting into the thick of it.
Yeah.
So the tan jumpsuit, right?
Yeah.
I see that online. I'm like, this is gonna go crazy.
Yeah.
I knew it right away.
Mm-hmm.
And then 5 days later, I look online and Fat Boy's in a skit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, these motherfuckers made it.
Yeah.
I knew it. I was like, so tell me about finally getting those off to celebrities and bigger people. Like, how is that, knowing that those people want to wear it and mix it with their stuff?
Yo, so you know what's so crazy about that? Especially, I'm gonna tell you about the Fat Boy. I'm gonna get into this first real quick. Was that I put that suit out. That was the first piece that we put out. That was like, I think not a shirt. I think that was not a shirt. That was the first thing we put out. And what's weird about it was I designed that really, the essence from that came from my father. He grew up in the 70s. So like the tracksuit, that's where I got that whole kind of essence from. Even when we did the photo shoot, I shot that in Brooklyn, my home neighborhood.
Wow, okay.
So I shot that over there. And what was cool about that was I really thought those were gonna go crazy. I really, you know what I'm saying? This is like the transparency, because I want people to really watch this and learn from it. I remember I put them out and I was like, man, and they're unisex, they really were, but I really kind of wanted them for guys a little bit more, right? And what happened was we put them out a little bit and they were going cool, but I was like, bro, these not like flying the way I thought they were, but they're going cool.
Yeah.
Yo, like next week, I ended up doing like a photo shoot with one of my friends, a woman. And they, like I said, a unisex. I did those, bro. After I did that photo shoot with the ladies, yo, I swear, every girl, they went crazy. The girls ate it up. And that's when I learned a lot of times too with marketing, like you got to market to the right person. When for that suit, the woman's was the audience, even though it was unisex. So it flew. So honestly, bro, the reason, even when we got the Fat Boy and we was able to sell him something, it was already sold out. So it was like, a lot of people think, well, you're going crazy. I'm like, bro, we can't really make no money off of him showing us some love, because it was already sold out from the girls. They just
And that's the thing too that people don't realize is, I know a lot of times as men, we think of our brothers. But our sisters, they gonna rock something and they gonna make something happen. The sisters
show you so much love, man. And like, I always like, when we be talking about too, is I feel like as women, they come to something and they add to it and they cultivate it and they make it grow. A lot of times, sometimes as brothers, man, we be, yo, what you gonna do for me? And a lot of that other stuff. So the sisters, man, they definitely show you love from the jump. Man. Like,
they showing love. And that's the thing. Like, I remember seeing your first photo shoot and I was like, okay, it's more of him doing his own thing. And then when you started adding the girls in there, I'm hitting the tag. I'm trying to see what's popping myself. You feel what I'm saying? I was like, you know what I'm saying? This is gonna start going up because now he knows the women are where it's at. The women, they go crazy. Women, they be like, oh, when the next thing coming? They'll hold you to like, you said you was gonna drop something else. Like, and man, the first models, like, and this is just tell people like where to start, man. The first models was me and my brother. Me and my brothers, like, it would be us, like on a rooftop, in the sidewalk, anywhere, like just take a picture of the shirt. You know, people, like I said, start simple. You don't have to always have a whole. You don't have to go OD. You just got to start. Yeah, you just got to start, man. Like, you know, and now we really work with actual models. So, you know, like, you just got to start somewhere, man. You got to start somewhere. You got to start somewhere. But also with this brand that I found crazy was that when I was seeing you guys at concerts, you guys were like outside. Like still. Like you're still in the trenches with it. Yeah. So y'all still outside with the packages like in the jacket. Yeah, you can see. So the grind just don't stop for you. No. So y'all not complacent with the website. Y'all not complacent with the pop-up shops. Y'all still outside with this.
Yo, the way we're at it is like, I always tell people, bro, you could catch us anywhere. You could catch us anywhere. You could talk to us anywhere. We don't get to like where we feel like it blew up and you can't hit me no more. Or you can't talk to me. Like, or, man, I'm always gonna be humble with it. And when when God starts shining success on you, that's time to double down on what you was doing and go even harder, not get complacent and get comfortable. So we, man, wherever you gonna get us to, we done been to. We go to New Jersey, Maryland, Rhode Island, Boston. If they like us out there, we gonna go out there. We gonna go out there, man.
So tell me, like, when you see them, all right, so back to more of the clothing thing.
Yeah.
When you see them matching it with more of designer and stuff, and you see the rappers wearing it, do you have that dream of one day getting it into a store? Like, have you had those talks yet? Like, should we start looking into Tilly's and different things like that, and seeing how this maybe we could sign somewhere and get this into these actual stores, or you want to keep it right now just organic to you?
Sometimes I have those thoughts. Like, honestly, I'll be getting a lot of offers thrown on the table right now for people to put it in stores like now. Like, like, like a lot of like mom and pop stores, people who got like their own little boutiques and all that kind of stuff. And I do think about it. I actually had somebody hit me the other day who's in Atlanta. He was like, yo, I want to put some stuff over here. But I don't know. I'm really picky. Like I told you, it's like like some people throw it as clothes. I look at it as like I told you. For me, it's like my art exhibit. So sometimes I'm just kind of picky on it, or I'm weird about it. I can't lie. So sometimes I do want to do it, but then I'm like, man, I want my first time stuff being in a store, like it to be just my store, and then maybe we branch out a little bit more. So definitely this year just started, so we're gonna look forward to something like that and see where that goes.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing about retail that's so crazy is that. You could start from where you guys started from, a table, and literally build up to a store. So you saying that, eventually is that where you want to get to, a retail store with employees and things like that, your own nature, maybe something on a strip, or do you want it more, in the stores and stuff like that?
Yeah, I definitely want to. Yeah, I definitely want a store one day for sure. Okay. Yeah, something like that, especially to do something in my hometown, that would be crazy.
Yes.
We do all kind of thing. I want to do a lot of gives back for the kids, something like that for sure.
Yes,
just
for sure.
Something big for sure, something like that. That would be great, a blessing.
Because I remember, so I was gonna also ask you, Bape is my favorite brand. Yeah. Nigo's my idol.
Yeah, Nigo's a GOAT.
My everybody asks me who's your favorite rapper, who's this, who's that. I tell them Nigo is my idol. That's the dude that branched all this stuff off from me, from Bape, looking at the camo. That's why I wanted to become a graphic designer.
Right.
I didn't care about nothing else.
Most definitely.
So when you think about it, do you want to expand into like sneakers and other stuff like that?
Most definitely.
You want to do that?
That's a whole bag that I would love to get into. And honestly, too, like, some of my favorite clothes to design is women clothing. Like, I like, because women be so versatile with their clothes. Sometimes with guys, like, you could look at a shirt and they gonna put it with this. Like, it's kinda, they gonna put they gonna put it with some Air Force Ones. They gonna do sometimes, which is nothing wrong with it, but sometimes it's kind of like entry level clothing. So for women, sometimes they just get crazy with it. Like, I see some women wearing I'm like, damn, I never even thought about putting it together like that. So it's cool. So sometimes I really want to get in like more women's fashion, bags, purses, all that type of stuff. That would be definitely something.
So definitely runway status. That's
runway status. Yeah, that's definitely what we're going into. You want to go to? Yeah.
Okay.
Most definitely.
So honestly, I gotta ask this question before I wrap this thing up.
Yeah.
For Domiair, what is the ceiling here? Like, where do you want to take this? Because right now, y'all up. Yeah. Y'all going up. Yeah. It's a trajectory thing, and y'all on your way up. Where does Fahz want to take this in 5 years?
Man, 5 years, honestly, man, we just want to be like, the biggest household name. Honestly, we want to be the biggest household name.
Okay.
We have a slogan of the brand. It's called Design for the Fly Only. Right. And some people, what that means for us is that we really just been trying to cultivate what we define as fly, So a lot of time, the narratives that we control cool. And we just want to show people like, this is what we think is fly. So if you think, what your style is fly, then it's the brand for you. You know what I mean? Come check us out. Control it. Like, it's really cool that like the slogan, even of that, I just seen somebody, like a lot of people been posting their pictures and they use the slogan as the caption.
I've seen that. Yeah.
And it's cool because, I feel like, man, it's like a good feeling because I always want people to feel their best. And it's like, man, I like it. It's so cool when I see a girl or a guy and then like they say Design for Fly Only and it's like they think they fly. So I know they in a good feeling. They feel good about themselves. So it make me feel like that, like, you know what? Right. And it's kind of like, it's become a little club of its own kind of thing now. Right. So, like,
it's your own cult. And that is so dope for a clothing brand. Like, when I look at the stories and they put that, I feel proud for you guys because that's a cult following.
Yeah, thank you, brother.
Artists need that. Mm-hmm. Entertainers need that.
Right.
For you to have that as a clothing brand, that's the coolest thing I think I've ever seen.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I want to give kudos to you for starting your own family on top of your own brand.
Thank you,
you know
man.
what I'm saying? So definitely, man, plug your stuff. Tell them where you're going to be at. Tell them the pop-up shops. Tell them everything before we get out of here.
Man, this is Fahz Vianlin, man, owner of Domiair. I appreciate y'all for having me on the show. You can follow us on Instagram at Domiair, New York. Also, too, man, you're going to catch your favorite rapper, celebrity, anything in it, man. Yo, go
they
get
everywhere.
That, for sure, man.
Eagles play on Sunday. That man had an Eagles player in his stuff. Don't get it twisted.
Definitely, man. Appreciate my having me, my boy.
No problem, man. Listen, this has been a Standout podcast where everyone and anyone could be a standout. I'm with my boy Fahz. Domiair, we out of here.
We out.
Yeah.